Small disciplines repeated daily create massive change, not by chance, but by choice. That one sentence can flip your entire approach to growth. If you're tired of starting strong and losing steam, if you've made big goals but struggled to follow through, this might be the shift you've been needing. In this audiobook, you'll learn why big life change never begins with intensity. It begins with small daily actions that feel so simple, most people ignore them. But that's where the power is. You don't need to wake up and change everything. You just need to show up every day and do what matters, without skipping, without waiting to feel ready. This is not about hacks or hype. It's about real habits that build real results. If you're ready to stop starting over and finally take control of your direction, this will guide you step by step, using discipline, not pressure, to create a life that improves daily, starting now. Chapter 1. Start tiny actions repeated every single day. People often ask why life does not change even when they want it to. They feel tired of starting strong and stopping early. They feel disappointed with themselves and confused about what is missing. I have spent many years studying people and working with people, and one clear truth stands out. Big change does not come from big dramatic moves. Big change comes from small actions done every day, not once in a while. Not when you feel inspired. Every single day. Human behavior is shaped by what we repeat. The mind learns through repetition. The body responds to repetition. Your confidence grows through repetition. Your future is built by what you do again and again, even when no one is watching. Most people underestimate the power of small actions because they want fast results. They want proof before they commit. But discipline comes before results. Growth comes before reward. The smallest action done daily carries more power than a large action done once. Tiny actions feel easy to ignore. Skipping a short walk feels harmless. Reading one page feels pointless. Saving a small amount feels too slow. But these actions are not about today. They are about who you are becoming. Every small action sends a message to your mind. That message says, I am the kind of person who shows up. Over time, that message becomes belief. Belief shapes behavior. Behavior shapes life. Most people struggle because they aim too high at the start. They set rules they cannot keep. They demand perfection and then quit when they fail. This creates guilt. Guilt leads to avoidance. Avoidance creates distance from growth. The smarter approach is to lower the starting point. Choose actions so small that resistance has no place to hide. When the action feels too easy to fail, you begin to win daily. Winning daily builds self-respect. Self-respect builds momentum. Consistency is not about intensity. It is about reliability. Doing something small every day trains the brain to trust you. When you break promises to yourself, the mind remembers. When you keep promises, even small ones, the mind remembers that too. Confidence does not come from loud words or big plans. It comes from quiet follow-through. Tiny actions repeated daily rebuild trust between you and yourself. Discipline does not arrive suddenly. It is built slowly. It grows when you act, even when the mood is low. Feelings change often. Habits remain when feelings move on. Relying on motivation is risky because motivation depends on emotion. Discipline depends on decision. A daily tiny action removes the need for motivation. You act because it is who you are, not because you feel like it. Small actions create structure in a chaotic world. Life is busy. Life pulls attention in many directions. A simple daily action becomes an anchor. It gives the day a sense of order. That sense of order reduces stress. When stress lowers, clarity improves. With clarity, decisions improve. Improvement begins with calm repetition. People think change requires force. It does not. Change requires patience. The mind resists sudden shifts. The The mind accepts gradual change. A tiny action feels safe. It does not trigger fear. Fear is the enemy of progress. When fear stays quiet, learning becomes possible. Growth becomes steady. Every great result you admire began with something small repeated long enough. Skills develop through daily practice. Health improves through daily care. Relationships grow through daily attention. Finances strengthen through daily choices. These are not secrets. They are often ignored truths. People search for shortcuts while ignoring basics. Daily repetition creates identity. Identity drives behavior. When you read daily, you become a reader. When you move daily, you become someone who cares for the body. When you plan daily, you become organized. Identity change is powerful because it lasts. Goals come and go. Identity stays. Missing one day is not failure. Quitting is failure. The real danger is not slipping. The danger is stopping. Small actions allow quick recovery. You do not need to restart big plans. You simply return to the small action the next day. This keeps momentum alive. Momentum builds quietly. Your environment responds to repeated behavior. People begin to trust consistency. Opportunities come to those who show reliability. Respect grows when actions match words. Small actions repeated daily create a reputation. Reputation opens doors that effort alone cannot. Many people wait for confidence before acting. Confidence comes after action. Confidence is earned. Tiny actions allow confidence to grow without pressure. Each completed action is evidence. Evidence strengthens belief. Belief fuels further action. The brain is shaped by what it practices. Repetition forms pathways. Those pathways make actions easier over time. What feels difficult today becomes natural later. Ease comes from repetition, not talent. Talent is often the result of practice, not the cause. Daily discipline simplifies life. Decisions become fewer. Energy is saved. When actions are planned and repeated, there is less debate. Debate drains energy. Simplicity preserves energy. Preserved energy improves focus. Small actions teach patience. Patience is required for meaningful change. Impatience leads to quitting. When you commit to tiny actions, you accept the pace of growth. This acceptance reduces frustration. Reduced frustration improves persistence. Success is not built in moments of excitement. It is built in ordinary days. Ordinary days make up most of life. Learning to respect ordinary days changes everything. Tiny daily actions give ordinary days purpose. Personal growth does not demand perfection. It demands participation. Show up daily, even when the effort feels small. Especially when it feels small. Small effort repeated beats large effort avoided. The future is shaped quietly. No announcement is made when discipline is formed. No applause comes when habits are built. But results appear later. They appear when others are confused about your progress. Progress looks sudden to outsiders, but it is never sudden to the one who practiced daily. Your daily actions vote for the life you want. Each action supports or weakens that future. Tiny actions cast powerful votes when repeated. Over time, the majority wins. Start where you are. Use what you have. Choose actions that fit your current life. Growth should support life, not fight it. Sustainable actions last. Unsustainable actions disappear. The greatest strength you can build is self-control. Self-control grows through practice. Practice happens daily. Tiny actions are the training ground. Each day you practice choosing long-term benefit over short-term comfort. Comfort is tempting. Growth requires effort. Tiny effort repeated keeps growth alive without overwhelming the system. This is how discipline becomes part of who you are, rather than something you force. Respect the power of today. Today is where habits live. Yesterday is finished. Tomorrow is built by today. Daily actions connect today to tomorrow. Do not wait for a perfect plan. Begin with a small action that moves life forward. Repeat it daily. Adjust as needed. Progress favors action over planning. When days feel heavy, keep actions light but consistent. Consistency matters more during hard times. Hard times reveal habits. Habits carry you through. Growth is not loud. Growth is quiet. It happens when you honor small promises to yourself. Over time, those promises build a life that feels stable, strong, and meaningful. Tiny actions repeated daily create massive change because they work with human nature, not against it. They respect the mind. They respect emotion. They respect reality. If life feels stuck, the solution is not pressure. The solution is repetition of small positive actions. Start tiny, repeat daily, trust the process. Change will follow. Chapter 2. Practice daily discipline before chasing big goals. Many people set big goals and then wonder why nothing moves. They talk about changing their career, fixing their health, improving their finances, or becoming a better person. The goal sounds exciting. It gives a short burst of energy. But after a few days, the excitement fades and nothing changes. This is not because the goal is wrong. It is because discipline was never built first. Goals without discipline are wishes. Discipline turns wishes into results. Daily discipline is not glamorous. It does not impress anyone. It does not create excitement. That is exactly why it works. Discipline trains you to act without needing excitement. Life does not reward excitement. Life rewards reliability. When you practice discipline daily, you become reliable to yourself. That reliability becomes strength. Big goals are heavy. They demand a version of you that may not exist yet. Daily discipline creates that version slowly. It prepares you. It trains your behavior before you demand big outcomes. Most people reverse the order. They chase big results first and then try to force discipline later. That approach leads to frustration and self-doubt. Discipline is not punishment. It is structure. Structure reduces chaos. Chaos drains energy. When life feels scattered, progress slows down. Daily discipline brings order. It gives direction to effort. Direction turns effort into progress. The mind prefers comfort. Comfort avoids effort. Discipline interrupts that pattern gently. It introduces small, controlled effort daily. Over time, the mind adapts. Effort feels less threatening. Resistance weakens. This is how discipline reshapes behavior without pressure. People often believe they need to feel ready before acting. Readiness is built through action. Daily discipline creates readiness. It sharpens focus. It strengthens will. It builds tolerance for effort. Chasing goals without readiness creates emotional exhaustion. Discipline is a skill. Skills improve through practice. Daily practice develops control over choices. Control over choices creates freedom. Freedom is not doing whatever you want. Freedom is doing what benefits you, even when you do not feel like it. Goals point to a destination. Discipline determines whether you arrive. Without discipline, goals remain ideas. Ideas alone do not change lives. Behavior changes lives. Discipline shapes behavior. Daily discipline teaches delayed reward. It trains you to act without immediate payoff. This skill is rare and valuable. Most people quit because they do not see quick results. Discipline allows you to continue when results are not visible. That ability separates those who grow from those who stay stuck. Chasing goals often creates pressure. Pressure leads to avoidance. Avoidance leads to procrastination. Discipline removes pressure by shifting focus to process. You stop asking how far you are from the goal. You focus on what needs to be done today. This simplifies life. Discipline builds emotional stability. When actions are consistent, emotions become calmer. Mood swings lose power. Decisions become clearer. Clarity improves judgment. Good judgment improves outcomes. When discipline is practiced, daily confidence grows quietly. Confidence is not loud. It comes from knowing you can rely on yourself. That knowledge is built through repeated action. Each day you follow through, you reinforce that belief. Big goals can create fear. Fear often hides behind doubt and delay. Daily discipline keeps fear small. It focuses attention on manageable effort. Small effort feels safe. Safety allows action. Action reduces fear. Discipline also creates momentum. Momentum makes effort easier. When effort feels easier, consistency increases. Consistency leads to improvement. Improvement reinforces discipline. This cycle builds strength. Many people confuse discipline with harsh control. Discipline is actually care. It is choosing what supports your future self. Daily discipline is self-respect in action. It protects you from impulsive decisions that cost you later. When discipline becomes part of daily life, goals become clearer. You start setting better goals. Goals aligned with values, not ego. Discipline improves self-awareness. Self-awareness improves direction. Chasing goals often leads to comparison. Comparison drains energy. Discipline shifts focus inward. You measure success by follow-through, not by external standards. This creates inner stability. Discipline also builds patience. Patience is necessary for meaningful progress. Without patience, people rush. Rushing creates mistakes. Mistakes create discouragement. Discipline slows the pace to what can be sustained. Daily discipline reduces decision fatigue. When actions are planned and repeated, there is less thinking required. Less thinking saves mental energy. Saved energy improves focus on important tasks. Goals are outcomes. Discipline is behavior. You control behavior. You do not fully control outcomes. Focusing on what you can control reduces anxiety. Reduced anxiety improves performance. Discipline prepares you for challenges. Life does not wait for you to feel confident. Challenges appear unexpectedly. Discipline builds strength before challenges arrive. Preparation reduces damage. Daily discipline teaches responsibility. Responsibility builds maturity. Maturity builds leadership. Leadership begins with leading yourself. Discipline also improves integrity. Integrity means your actions match your values. Daily discipline aligns behavior with intention. That alignment creates inner peace. Big goals can inflate ego. Discipline humbles ego. It reminds you that progress requires effort. Humility keeps learning alive. Discipline helps you recover faster from setbacks. When discipline is routine, setbacks do not stop progress. You return to the process. The process carries you forward. Daily discipline is quiet training. No one sees it, no one applauds it, but it builds results that cannot be taken away easily. When discipline becomes habit, motivation becomes optional. You act because it is time, not because you feel inspired. This stability creates long-term success. Discipline improves time awareness. You begin to respect time. You stop wasting it. You use it intentionally. Intentional time use compounds progress. Goals often change. Discipline remains useful regardless of the goal. It is a transferable skill. Once built, it supports every area of life. Discipline reduces regret. Regret comes from knowing you did not try. Daily discipline ensures effort was made. Peace comes from effort, regardless of outcome. Discipline creates trust. Trust with yourself, trust from others. Trust builds opportunity. Opportunity rewards discipline. Practice discipline before chasing goals, because discipline is the foundation. Without foundation, structures collapse. With foundation, growth is stable. The strongest individuals are not driven by goals alone. They are guided by disciplined behavior. That guidance keeps them moving forward, even when the path is unclear. Daily discipline shapes character. Character shapes destiny. Destiny is not random. It is built daily through choice. Choose discipline first. Let goals follow. Discipline prepares you to handle success when it arrives. Without discipline, success becomes unstable. Practice daily discipline quietly. Let results speak later.
Chapter 3. Repeat simple habits until change becomes visible. Real change takes time. Most people understand that on the surface, but when they don't see fast results, they get discouraged. They want to change their life, their health, their mindset, their habits, but they quit before they give anything the time it needs to work. What they miss is that real change doesn't shout. It doesn't knock on your door after a few days and say, "Here I am." It creeps in silently through small, simple actions that are done over and over again, even when nothing seems to be changing. You don't need a complicated routine to improve your life. You need simple habits that you repeat until the results start to show up. There's a reason why simple habits work better than big dramatic efforts. Your brain can handle small things. It doesn't panic or resist when you decide to read 5 minutes a day, or drink an extra glass of water, or stretch before bed. These actions feel doable. They don't threaten your comfort, and that's exactly why they work. The more manageable the habit, the more likely you are to do it. And once you do it enough times, something important starts to happen. You start believing that change is possible. You see yourself becoming the kind of person who follows through. The problem is that people often quit too early. They say, "I've been eating healthy for a week, but nothing's changed." Or, "I've meditated for 10 days, and I still feel stressed." What they don't understand is that results don't appear on your timeline. They appear when your actions have compounded enough to create visible impact. Think about how long it took to build your current habits. The bad ones, the unhelpful ones, they didn't appear overnight. They were created through repetition. If you want to replace them, the same rule applies. Repetition builds change, and not just any repetition, but the kind that's grounded in simplicity and consistency. Simple habits lower the barrier to entry. When something is simple, you don't need to negotiate with yourself every time you do it. You don't need to argue or hype yourself up. It becomes automatic. That's when it starts to shape your identity. You stop saying things like, "I'm trying to eat healthy," and you start saying, "I eat healthy." You stop saying, "I'm trying to be consistent," and start saying, "I'm a consistent person." That shift in identity is powerful. It doesn't happen in one moment. It happens in many tiny moments, repeated without fail. Now let's talk about why visibility takes time. When you start doing something new, even something simple, it's happening under the surface first. Your brain is adjusting. Your body is adapting. Your decisions are shifting. But on the outside, nothing seems different. This is the phase where most people give up. They assume the habit isn't working because they can't see change yet. But change is already happening, just not in a way you can measure yet. Simple habits plant seeds. You don't dig them up to check if they're growing. You keep watering them, trusting that results are on the way. If you want to change your life, you need to understand the power of waiting while working. That's what repeating simple habits teaches you. It trains your patience. It sharpens your focus. It removes the drama from the process and teaches you how to stay calm while you grow. And you will grow if you keep going. You don't need to change everything at once. In fact, you shouldn't. When you try to fix everything overnight, your system gets overwhelmed. You burn out. You fall back into old patterns. But when you pick one or two small actions, ones that matter to your goals, and you repeat them daily, something shifts. That small act becomes a stabilizer. It keeps your day grounded. It reminds you of your progress even when the day feels hard. This is also how momentum is built. Not from motivation, not from hype, but from stacking small wins. Every time you follow through on a simple habit, you get a little win. Those wins may seem small, but they build confidence. They remind you that you're capable. Over time, they stack up into something noticeable. They change how you feel about yourself, not just what you do. Here's something else most people forget. Not seeing results right away does not mean you're doing it wrong. It means you're doing something that requires time. There is no quick version of real transformation. There is only consistent effort. You have to be willing to look unchanged while you're becoming someone new. That takes strength. That takes faith, but it's worth it. Because the version of you that grows from simple repeated habits is stronger than any version that appeared overnight. And the truth is, once you do start seeing results, they come all at once. People will say you changed fast, but you didn't. You changed quietly, privately, one small action at a time. And eventually, those quiet efforts became visible. Your energy improved. Your thinking got clearer. Your body felt stronger. Your mindset felt calmer. But it all started with simple daily actions that most people would ignore. Repeating habits is not just about outcomes. It's about who you become in the process. You become someone who follows through, someone who can count on themselves, someone who doesn't rely on the mood of the day to take action. That kind of person can handle stress better. They make smarter choices. They live with more self-respect. And all of that shows, not in one moment, but in your entire way of being. It's important to protect the habits you choose. Once they're in place, they become a part of your foundation. Life will test your consistency. You'll have busy days, low days, emotional days, and those are the days when your simple habits will keep you anchored. The smaller and clearer the habit, the more likely it is to survive those hard moments. Don't wait to feel ready. Don't wait for everything to make sense. Pick one thing that matters and start doing it. Keep it so simple that you have no excuse to skip it. And once you start, repeat it. Not for a few days. Not until it feels boring. But until change becomes visible. And then keep going even longer. Because by then it's not just a habit, it's a part of who you are. There is a reason the most grounded and disciplined people in the world stick to the basics. They don't search for magic tricks or shortcuts. They double down on the fundamentals. They focus on what works, even if it seems small. And because they repeat those actions with care and intention, they get results that last. Not because they're special, but because they understand what most ignore. Simple repeated actions create lasting visible change. You are no different. You have everything it takes to build a better life. You don't need to change all at once. You just need to start. Pick a simple habit and do it every day. Watch what happens. Not in a day, not in a week, but in time. That time will pass either way. If you use it well, your life will quietly change. And soon, the results will no longer be invisible, they will be undeniable.
Chapter 4. Do the basics daily without negotiating. Most people don't fail because they don't know what to do. They fail because they don't do what they already know works. They wait. They question.
They hesitate. And in that space between knowing and doing, they lose time, energy, and progress. The truth is the basics work, and they've always worked. But only for the people who are willing to do them consistently, without needing to argue with themselves every day. Every morning, you get a choice. You can either do what moves your life forward, or you can negotiate with it. You can start your day with intention, or you can start it with delay. The people who get results are not always the smartest. They are not always the most motivated, but they are committed to doing the basic things that matter without needing to debate it in their mind. The moment you begin to give yourself room to decide whether or not to do the basics, you've already stepped out of discipline and into emotion. And when emotions take the lead, consistency suffers. This is not about being harsh on yourself. This is about becoming someone who lives by decisions made from clarity, not feelings that shift every few hours. Doing the basics daily is not about being extreme. It's about being steady. There's nothing complicated about waking up on time, planning your day, eating with awareness, moving your body, reading something that sharpens your mind, or reviewing your progress. These are all things anyone can do. But what separates people is the mindset behind those actions. For some, the basics are optional. For others, the basics are non-negotiable, and that makes all the difference. When you start treating the basics like they're optional, they lose power. You become more reactive. You start chasing complexity instead of focusing on consistency. You look for better systems instead of building better follow-through. You assume the issue is what you're doing, when the real issue is how often you're doing it. You don't need a new strategy every week. You need stronger commitment to the strategy you already have. The reason many people don't see change is not because they aren't doing anything. It's because they aren't doing the right things consistently enough to create lasting momentum. Every time you skip the basics, you teach your mind that your word doesn't matter. But when you follow through without needing to convince yourself, you rebuild inner strength. And that strength shows up in every area of your life. It shows up in how you speak to yourself. It shows up in the respect you carry. It shows up in your ability to stay focused when distractions come. Doing the basics daily without negotiating builds mental discipline. That discipline gives you freedom. Freedom to not be pulled by every feeling. Freedom to not rely on bursts of motivation. Freedom to stay calm and clear when life gets messy. Most people think discipline is about restriction. In truth, discipline is about making life more predictable, more stable, and more intentional. It's easy to underestimate the basics. They're not exciting. They're not flashy. They don't make headlines, but they change people. They build resilience. They develop character, and they lead to results that stay. You don't have to do everything right to move forward. You just have to do the right things repeatedly. The basics are not glamorous, but they are powerful. They don't demand talent or luck, only effort and honesty. And when you commit to doing them every single day, without arguing, without stalling, without waiting for the mood to be perfect, life begins to respond. Small disciplines compound into massive progress, but only if you protect them from delay. You can't keep pressing pause on the things you know will help you grow. The more you pause, the longer it takes to get momentum back, and momentum is everything. When you lose it, getting it back takes more energy than most people expect. But when you guard it by doing the basics daily, it begins to carry you forward. Doing the basics without negotiation also builds identity. Every time you show up, even when it's boring or inconvenient, you confirm a truth about yourself. I am consistent. I am focused. I am in control of my time and actions. Over time, that identity becomes stronger than your excuses. You don't need to make the basics feel exciting. You need to make them feel automatic. You don't have to enjoy every part of the process. You just have to respect what it builds in you. And the way to make something automatic is through repetition. Not complicated plans, not chasing a better mood, just steady repetition. Some days you'll feel tired. Some days you'll be busy. Some days you'll want to postpone. That's when the power of non-negotiation kicks in. That's when you realize that you're no longer depending on willpower. You're depending on standards. You don't decide whether to do it. You already decided. Now you act on that decision. There's a kind of peace that comes with this way of living. It's not loud. It doesn't need praise, but it gives you confidence that lasts. You don't wake up wondering who you'll be that day. You already know. You're someone who shows up, who takes action, who doesn't talk yourself out of what matters. That clarity is rare, and it's built through small daily efforts that most people skip. If you want to rise above average, stop negotiating with yourself about things that should already be part of your routine. The difference between a productive day and a chaotic one is often a few simple actions done early and done without delay. The basics set the tone. They give your day a clear foundation. Without them, you're left reacting to everything that comes your way. You might not control everything in life, but you control whether or not you do the things that strengthen your body, mind, and focus. That control is a gift, one that should not be wasted on overthinking or overplanning. Use it to act. Use it to move forward. You don't need motivation to do what matters. You need commitment. Motivation is a feeling. Commitment is a choice. And the choice to follow through even when it's not convenient is what separates progress from procrastination. Most of your breakthroughs won't happen during big moments. They'll happen quietly, in your daily habits, in the actions you take when no one is watching. The basics don't just prepare you for the big moments. They become the reason those big moments happen in the first place. Real change begins when you stop letting your feelings vote on your actions. You know what you need to do. Now it's about doing it. Not once, not when it's easy, but every single day without asking yourself whether you feel like it. Because the truth is, you won't always feel like it, but you can always choose it. That's what doing the basics without negotiating really means. It means choosing consistency over comfort, progress over procrastination, and character over convenience. It's not easy, but it's always worth it.
Chapter 5. Build momentum through small daily commitments. Progress begins small. That's where many people get it wrong. They wait for motivation, for the perfect plan, for the big leap. They think they need to make huge moves to change their life. But the truth is, what changes you is momentum. And momentum doesn't begin with big victories. It begins with small daily commitments that you honor, no matter how simple they are. Momentum is not something you wait for. It's something you create, one small step at a time. If you want to feel more motivated, don't wait for inspiration. Build momentum through action. And the easiest way to do that is by making a promise to yourself that's so clear, so simple, that there's no reason to skip it. One daily task, one clear action. Done repeatedly, that's where things start moving. That's where your mindset shifts. Momentum is built when you stop overthinking and start doing, even if it's 5 minutes of work. Even if it's a single healthy choice. The moment you complete one action, your brain records it as a win. That win triggers energy. That energy gives you confidence. Confidence leads to the next action. That's how momentum builds. You don't need massive discipline to start. You just need to keep one promise, and then another. Small commitments are powerful because they're realistic. When you commit to something big and you miss, you feel like a failure. But when you commit to something small, something manageable, and you do it, you feel proud. That pride reinforces behavior. It tells your brain, I can do this. From that feeling, your effort grows. If you've ever felt stuck, chances are you were waiting to feel ready, but waiting keeps you in place.
The longer you wait, the heavier action starts to feel. The weight doesn't come from the task itself, it comes from the pressure you've built around it. But once you act, even on a small scale, that weight begins to lift. You don't have to do everything, you just have to start something. Momentum feels good, because it gives you proof that you're not staying still. Even if the progress is slow, movement brings clarity. Every day that you follow through on a small commitment, your mind becomes more organized, your thoughts feel less scattered, your goals start to feel possible. That's not because of big breakthroughs, that's because you showed up. You might wonder how something so small can make a difference, but think about it. Every habit you have now was built from something you repeated. At first, it wasn't automatic. It took a decision, it took effort, but you kept doing it. And now it's part of you. That's how momentum works. It starts small, but it grows stronger the more you feed it. One of the best things you can do for your growth is stop chasing perfection and start honoring your commitments. Don't set goals that require perfect execution. Set commitments you can follow through on, even on your worst days. That's what makes them stick. That's what builds trust in yourself. And that self-trust is where momentum comes alive. When you skip your commitments, you don't just lose time, you lose belief. But when you follow through, especially when you don't feel like it, you gain something more valuable than results. You gain identity. You start to see yourself as someone who takes action, someone who doesn't wait to feel perfect, someone who can be counted on. You don't need more plans, you need more doing. Plans don't build momentum. Action does, and that action doesn't have to be loud. It just has to be real. You can keep your commitments quiet. You don't need to announce them. Just do them, day after day. Let the results speak later. Momentum doesn't ask you to move fast, it asks you to keep moving. There's a difference. You don't need to rush. You don't need to do more than you can handle. You just need to avoid standing still. That's the key, because once you stop completely, it takes twice the effort to restart. But if you keep moving, even slowly, the path stays open. You will have days when your energy is low. You'll have moments when your mind wants to give up. That's when your small commitments matter most. They remind you that progress is still possible. They keep you from slipping back into the patterns that held you down. In those moments, the size of your action doesn't matter. Only the fact that you acted. Your life changes when your decisions stop depending on your mood. That's what daily commitments teach you. They give you control. They teach you how to move through resistance without needing to fight it. You stop waiting for the perfect mood to act. You act because that's who you are now. Momentum turns effort into habit. Once your actions become part of your rhythm, they take less thought. You don't have to use willpower every time. You just do what you've committed to. That frees up mental energy, and that energy can be used for higher level thinking, deeper work, better decisions. One of the most freeing realizations is knowing that you don't need to feel ready to move forward. You just need to begin. The act of starting, even small, tells your brain that this matters. It wakes up your focus. It breaks the cycle of delay. That's the moment momentum is born. You don't have to control everything to make progress. You just have to control what you do today, what you commit to right now. And if that commitment is clear and simple, and you repeat it daily, the long-term impact can be massive. It doesn't matter how many times you've quit before. What matters is what you do next. Momentum doesn't care about your past. It only responds to your present action. One solid day leads to another. One strong choice turns into a routine. One small victory becomes a lifestyle. So start with something you can't talk yourself out of. Something small, something clear. Show up for it today. Show up again tomorrow. Stack those days until your mind stops questioning and starts expecting. That's how commitment becomes second nature. You won't always feel momentum. Some days it's quiet, some days it's barely noticeable, but it's still there. as long as you keep showing up. And when you do that long enough, something powerful happens. You stop chasing change, and you start becoming it, all because you made small commitments and honored them daily. That's the truth. Momentum is not magic. It's not luck. It's not motivation. It's built by people who decide that doing something small every day is enough to move forward. And they're right, because those small daily commitments, repeated with purpose, lead to big lasting change, not all at once, but in time, and always in your control.
Chapter 6. Stick to boring routines that create progress. Progress doesn't always feel exciting. In fact, most of the time, real progress feels repetitive, predictable, and yes, boring. And that's where many people lose the game. They think if it's not new, it's not working. If it doesn't feel exciting, it must not be helping. But the truth is, the routines that seem dull to the mind are often the ones that reshape your life. It's not the new strategies you try for 2 days that change you. It's the consistent, basic routines you repeat without needing a reward every time. People tend to chase what feels different. A new workout, a new book, a new way of planning their day. But change doesn't come from switching plans all the time. It comes from sticking with a set of routines long enough to let the effects kick in. And here's the thing, those routines will often feel repetitive, they'll feel ordinary. But ordinary is not the enemy. In fact, ordinary is where transformation begins. The routines that create progress aren't meant to entertain you. They're meant to ground you. They're meant to give your day structure. They're meant to keep you moving when motivation runs out, when stress hits, or when life feels off balance. When everything around you is shifting, those routines stay the same. They keep you anchored. Some people waste months looking for something better instead of committing to what already works. They jump from system to system, hoping to find something more exciting. But progress is not about being entertained. It's about being consistent. You don't need to feel thrilled to build a better life. You just need to show up and do what you said you would do, even when it's not exciting. Boring routines protect your energy. You don't have to decide what to do every day. You just follow the plan you've already built. That saves mental space. It helps you focus. You're not caught in overthinking. You just act. That's where momentum is created. And momentum turns daily routines into long-term results. The truth is, you're not going to feel like doing the right thing every day. No one does. But when you've built solid routines, you don't need to feel like it. The decision is already made. You get up, you follow the steps, and you move forward. You stop waiting to feel ready. You stop depending on mood, you just do it. That's power. That's control. Routines also teach you discipline. Not the loud kind of discipline that needs to be seen, but the quiet, steady kind that keeps your life moving forward. You don't get strong by doing something once with intensity. You get strong by doing it repeatedly, with intention. Over time, what once felt like a chore becomes part of who you are. When you stick with the same daily actions, tracking your habits, reading for 10 minutes, exercising even a little, reviewing your goals, you're not just doing tasks, you're shaping your mindset. You're training your brain to value effort over comfort. You're choosing purpose over entertainment. And that decision shapes everything. There's a strange kind of freedom that comes when you no longer need every day to feel special. When you can wake up and go through your routine, even when life is quiet, even when no one is watching, you start to feel stronger inside. You trust yourself more. You stop needing permission. You stop relying on outside validation. You take ownership of your path, and when you do that long enough, the results begin to show. Not overnight,
Not in one big moment, but slowly in how you think, in how you speak to yourself, in how you handle problems. Suddenly, the version of you that used to quit is gone, replaced by someone reliable, someone calm, someone who doesn't panic under pressure. All because you stuck with the basics long after they stopped feeling exciting. It's easy to underestimate how powerful a simple routine can be. But what's even easier is to get distracted by options. You start questioning your progress. You start asking if there's a faster way. But what you really need isn't more options. You need more patience. The kind of patience that lets a process do its work. Because even the best plan won't deliver results if you abandon it too soon. The routines that bring results are often invisible to the outside world. No one sees you drinking more water. No one claps when you journal for 5 minutes. There's no spotlight when you say no to distractions and stick to your schedule. But these little actions are building something inside you. They're building consistency. They're building strength. And eventually they will build results that can't be ignored. Boring routines also help you handle chaos. Life will always throw unexpected things your way. You can't avoid that, but what you can do is keep your routines steady no matter what's going on. That stability gives you the ability to respond instead of react. It gives you clarity. And clarity is rare in a noisy world. When you know what your day looks like, when you've already chosen your priorities, you don't waste time chasing distractions. You stay focused. You stay intentional. That's what turns a regular day into a productive one. And it all comes from sticking to your routine, even when it's not exciting. Think about the people you admire. The ones who seem grounded, sharp, and consistent. They're not living on emotion. They're living on systems. They have routines that protect their energy, their time and their mindset, and they guard those routines because they know how much power they hold. You can build that too. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be steady. Pick the routines that support your goals and do them daily. Not for a week. Not until you're bored, but long enough for them to become a part of how you live. That's when things shift. That's when growth becomes real. It's not about intensity. It's about reliability. You don't need to do everything all at once. You just need to do something that moves you forward, and do it every day. That's how real progress is made. Quietly. Consistently. Through routines that feel small but build something big. When you learn to stick with the boring work, you gain something most people never have. Peace of mind. You don't wake up anxious about what to do next. You already know. You just follow the path you've built. And that path leads somewhere worth going. Growth doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't have to be flashy. It just has to be real. And real growth is built on routines that work, even if they aren't exciting. So show up. Do the work. Repeat the basics, and trust that results will come. Not because you chased something new, but because you stayed loyal to what works. That's how real progress is built. One boring but powerful day at a time.
Chapter 7. Choose steady effort daily over dramatic change. Most people want change, but they want it fast. They want to wake up tomorrow and feel like everything is different. Their body, their mindset, their habits, their life. But fast change doesn't last. It burns hot, then fades. That's why the key isn't dramatic change. It's steady effort, repeated daily. That kind of effort feels slow. It doesn't impress anybody, but it works. Because steady effort builds things that don't break when life gets hard. The reason most people don't get the results they want is not because they don't try, it's because they try too much, too quickly, and when the excitement wears off, they stop. Dramatic change feels exciting in the beginning. It promises quick results, but excitement is a terrible fuel source.
it runs out fast. And when it does, most people quit. What matters more is the kind of effort that doesn't depend on mood or energy. The kind of effort that becomes part of your routine. That's what builds real change. Steady effort is quieter. It's more honest. You're not chasing extremes. You're doing the work, even when it's not thrilling. You're not rushing toward the finish line. You're building a foundation you can stand on. You're choosing progress over perfection. And that choice, made daily, is what makes the biggest difference in the long run. Change that lasts never shows up all at once. It arrives in small steps. It's built from consistent effort. You do the work when it's boring. You stay focused when no one's cheering you on. You stick with the plan when you feel like giving up. That's not easy, but it's powerful, because each day you do that, you become a little more solid, a little more focused, a little more dependable to yourself. Steady effort gives you control. You don't have to depend on perfect conditions or good moods. You decide what matters, and you commit to it. That removes so much stress. You stop reacting to life and start leading it. You stop being pulled by emotions and start being guided by values. The problem with dramatic change is that it doesn't teach you how to live. It teaches you how to push hard for short periods, then collapse. But life doesn't work like that. Life rewards what you can sustain. And what you can sustain is almost always simple, steady actions done every day. That's where growth comes from. Most people overestimate what they can do in a short time and underestimate what they can do in a year. But if you chose one small useful action and repeated it every day, no matter what, you would be shocked at how much your life shifts in 6 months. Not because you changed everything overnight, but because you stayed consistent when others didn't. Steady effort is also humbling. It reminds you that growth doesn't come from one breakthrough. It comes from staying in the game when the results are slow. It comes from doing the next right thing, even when you're tired. That kind of effort doesn't make headlines, but it makes character, and character is what makes results stick. If you've ever started something and quit quickly, it's not because you're weak. It's because you were chasing the feeling of progress instead of building the habit of effort. Feelings come and go. Habits stay. That's why steady effort always wins. It's not exciting. It's not flashy, but it works. There will be days when you don't feel like doing anything. That's normal. But steady effort doesn't ask you to be perfect. It just asks you to show up. Maybe you can't do a full workout, but you can walk for 10 minutes. Maybe you can't read a whole chapter, but you can read 2 pages. That's what steady effort looks like. You don't do everything, but you do something. And that something adds up. You also stop chasing shortcuts. You realize that slow progress is better than fake progress. You stop jumping from one idea to another. You stop needing everything to feel new. You stick with what works. And you make it part of your life. That's not easy, but it's worth it. Steady effort builds trust with yourself. You start believing what you say. You start following through. That internal trust is more powerful than any outside motivation. It means you can rely on yourself, even when life gets hard, and life will get hard. That's why you need something deeper than hype to carry you through. When you build your life on steady effort, you stop looking for the next big thing. You realize you already have what you need. You don't need to do something huge. You just need to keep doing what matters, day by day, even when it's small, even when it's quiet. Progress built on steady effort is stable. It doesn't crash when you hit a rough patch. It holds strong because you didn't take shortcuts. You built it honestly, through action, through showing up, through choosing effort over excuses. That's how real results are made. There's a calm that comes when you stop trying to fix everything at once. You stop putting pressure on yourself to transform overnight. You accept the pace of real growth. You begin to enjoy the process. You learn to respect the work. That changes you. It makes you patient. It makes you focused. It makes you strong. You might not see results right away. That's okay. You're not doing it for instant reward. You're doing it to build something solid, something that lasts. Every day, you choose steady effort. You add one more brick to the life you're building. And even if no one sees those bricks now, they will later, because effort leaves a mark. You don't need to do extraordinary things. You need to do ordinary things with commitment. That's what creates extraordinary outcomes. One day at a time, one choice at a time. That's the path. The most successful people in the world aren't addicted to speed. They're addicted to consistency. They know that if they stay steady, they will get there. Maybe not today, maybe not next week, but eventually, because they don't quit, they don't explode and burn out. They rise slowly and steadily. So choose steady effort. When it's slow, when it's repetitive, when it's not glamorous, choose it anyway, because that's what builds something real. You're not in a race, you're building a life. Do it wisely, do it patiently, do it daily. The rewards of steady effort are not just seen in what you achieve, they're felt in who you become. You become focused, you become grounded, you become unshakable, and no dramatic shift can give you that. Only steady effort can.
Chapter 8. Strengthen life by honoring daily disciplines. A strong life is not built by chance, it's built by what you do over and over again. When you look at people who seem focused, balanced, and confident, it's not because their life is easier. It's because they've learned to build structure. They've learned how to take control of their time, their habits, their mindset. And the way they've done that is by honoring daily disciplines. Not sometimes, not just when they feel like it, but every single day. Daily disciplines are not just actions, they are reminders. They remind you of who you want to be. They pull you out of distraction and back into purpose. They keep your values visible, and they turn your good intentions into actual behavior. Without daily disciplines, life becomes reactive. You wake up and let the day decide how you feel, what you do, and where your energy goes. But with discipline, you choose how to move. You lead the day instead of being led by it. When you honor your daily disciplines, something shifts. You start noticing how much power you actually have. You don't wait for motivation to strike. You don't need to be inspired. You become consistent because it's your standard. That consistency doesn't just make you more productive, it makes you stronger inside. You stop doubting your ability to follow through. You trust yourself more. That trust gives you calm. It gives you stability. And stability is rare in a world filled with chaos. Daily disciplines give your life rhythm. They add meaning to ordinary days. Most people think strength comes from huge moments, big wins, major changes, but the truth is, strength is built quietly. It's built by doing what matters, especially when it's not exciting. When you show up for yourself through discipline, you build mental muscle. You create emotional structure. You protect your time. You stay close to the things that move your life forward. You don't have to do 100 things to feel in control. You just have to do a few things that matter, and do them every day. These can be simple. Plan your day in the morning. Write down what you're grateful for. Take care of your body. Spend a few minutes in silence. Stick to your bedtime. Check in with your goals. None of these things are complex, but their power is in the repetition. Over time, they become habits, and habits shape your identity. A disciplined life doesn't mean a restricted life, it means a focused one. It means you don't waste time arguing with your impulses. You don't start over every Monday. You don't rely on bursts of motivation that never last. You rely on structure. You make fewer decisions because your priorities are already clear. That reduces stress. That saves energy. That helps you stay grounded in what really matters.
You might think discipline is hard to build, but what's harder is living without it. When you don't have structure, everything feels urgent. Your mind races. Your emotions take over. You fall behind on what's important because you're always catching up. That drains you. But when you have a routine, when you have discipline, your day has direction. Your energy has a place to go. That makes life easier, not harder. Some people fear discipline because they think it takes away freedom. But freedom without direction leads to chaos. Real freedom is knowing that your actions match your goals, that you're not just surviving your days, you're shaping them. Discipline helps you do that. It helps you protect your peace. It helps you spend time on what matters. And it keeps you away from the distractions that pull you away from your purpose. It's easy to skip the basics, easy to say, I'll get back on track tomorrow. But every skipped action adds up. It weakens your momentum. It sends a message to your mind that your word isn't strong. On the other hand, when you show up daily, you reinforce the opposite. You prove to yourself that your word means something. That kind of self-respect changes how you think, how you speak, and how you treat your own time. Discipline is not about perfection. You will slip sometimes. You'll have days that don't go to plan. But when discipline is part of your life, those days don't destroy your progress. You don't spiral. You don't abandon the process. You reset quickly. You return to your rhythm. That's the difference between someone who builds long-term growth and someone who keeps starting over. There's nothing more empowering than knowing you have control over how you live. And that control starts with your daily choices. Not once in a while, every day. When you make those choices consistent, you create stability. That stability gives you space to grow. It gives you strength to handle stress. It makes your foundation unshakable, even when your external life feels uncertain. Daily disciplines keep you steady. They remind you of what you can control. You might not control outcomes. You might not control other people. But you control whether you honor the habits that support your mind, your body, your goals. That control is a gift. A gift you give yourself every time you show up, even in small ways. If you want to feel more clear-headed, more focused, more confident, start with your discipline. Start with the small things. Keep your word to yourself. Finish what you start. Follow the structure that helps you stay balanced. It may not feel exciting, but it's powerful, because every time you stick with discipline, you rise above distraction. You step away from chaos. You move closer to the person you want to become. People are often looking for one big breakthrough, but what they really need is a better routine. They need to stop chasing new answers and start respecting the process. Discipline is the process. It's the path that leads to clarity, not confusion, to confidence, not doubt, to results, not excuses. You don't have to change your entire life overnight, but you do need to commit to small disciplines daily. If you do that, your confidence will rise, your direction will become clear, and your life will gain momentum that no outside force can take from you. You'll stop feeling like you're falling behind. You'll feel like you're finally in control. Strength isn't loud. It doesn't need to be seen. It's built internally, through repetition, through structure, through quiet discipline, honored day after day. That's what strengthens your life. That's what creates a version of you that can handle stress, pressure, and uncertainty. Not because you're perfect, but because you're consistent. And that consistency makes you unstoppable. Chapter 9. Repeat positive actions until they shape character. Who you are is not just defined by what you think or believe, it's shaped by what you do over and over again. Character is not built in one big moment of change. It's built through small, repeated actions that you choose daily. And when those actions are positive, intentional, and aligned with your values, they begin to create a version of you that you're proud of, not because of what you say, but because of what you consistently practice. The strongest, calmest, most disciplined people you know didn't become that way overnight. They became that way through repetition, through choosing positive actions and choosing them again and again, until those actions no longer felt forced, until those choices became part of their natural response. That's what shapes character. Not a single decision, but thousands of them repeated without drama, without noise, and without quitting. The truth is, most people want a different life, but they continue repeating the same reactions, the same attitudes, the same habits. They wait for change to happen to them instead of realizing that character is built by what you do, not what you hope for. You don't become honest by thinking about integrity. You become honest by choosing to tell the truth, even when it's inconvenient. You don't become calm by wishing for peace. You become calm by learning to respond with patience, especially when the moment feels tense. These are all choices, and when those choices are made again and again, they begin to define you. If you want to become someone more focused, more consistent, more reliable, don't try to change your personality. Change your patterns. Start small. Pick one action that reflects the type of person you want to become, then do it every day. At first, it may feel unnatural. You may have to remind yourself, you may slip, but every time you return to it, you strengthen the foundation. And eventually that action becomes part of who you are. Repeating positive actions is not about proving something to others. It's about becoming someone you trust. Someone who doesn't abandon themselves when things get hard. Someone who doesn't only do the right thing when it's easy or visible. That quiet self-respect is the core of strong character. And the only way to build it is through consistent follow-through. Some people believe they need to feel like a better person before they can act like one. But it's the other way around. When you act in alignment with your values, even in small ways, you start to see yourself differently. You don't wait to feel ready. You behave in a way that reflects who you want to be. That creates internal change. That internal change becomes character. There's a clear difference between doing something once and making it who you are. You can't do the right thing once and expect transformation, just like you can't go to the gym once and expect to be strong. You have to return. You have to repeat. That's the only way to train your behavior and wire it into your identity. Positive actions might feel small on their own. Waking up early, saying no to distractions, apologizing when you mess up, being patient in traffic. These things don't seem dramatic, but their impact grows when they're consistent. One positive action can lift your mood. A week of them can shift your energy. A year of them can transform your mindset, and a life of them will define your character. Your habits are the training ground for your values. You can't say you value discipline if you never train it. You can't say you care about growth if you avoid the work that creates it. But when you repeat actions that reflect those values, especially when no one else sees it, you prove to yourself that your words match your behavior. That's how trust in yourself grows. That's how you become dependable. That's how character is. People often get discouraged when they don't feel changed right away. But character doesn't shout, it builds in silence. You may not notice it on the surface, but each time you make a better choice, you're rewiring something. You're shifting your response. You're building discipline in areas where you used to collapse. And over time those shifts add up. The more you repeat positive actions, the more natural they feel. At first it takes effort. It might feel awkward or uncomfortable. But with repetition, your brain begins to recognize the pattern. Your body starts to expect it. You begin to anticipate the reward. Eventually, it becomes the default response. Not because you forced it, but because you committed to it. It's also important to be patient. You might not feel different for a while. But don't let that stop you. Don't stop showing up just because the transformation isn't loud. Keep doing the right thing. Keep honoring the actions that reflect who you want to be. Keep choosing what builds you, not what distracts you. Because character is not something you chase. It's something you become through repetition. This is not about being perfect. You're human. You will have off days. You will mess up. You will forget. That's part of the process. The point is not to be flawless. The point is to keep returning to the path. To keep choosing the actions that shape the person you want to be. That consistency is more powerful than any one mistake. You don't have to do it all at once. Focus on one area. Pick one habit. Start there. Maybe it's being more present. Maybe it's following through on your promises. Maybe it's choosing honesty even when it's uncomfortable. Whatever it is, turn it into action. Then repeat it. Don't wait to feel perfect. Don't wait for the right time. Just begin. In the beginning, character building feels invisible. You may feel like you're just going through the motions. But those motions are shaping you. They're building emotional strength, mental clarity, and personal discipline. And eventually, the person you're becoming starts to feel real. Not because you imagined it, but because you lived it. When people say, "That's just the way I am," they're often talking about old patterns they've repeated for years. But the good news is, new patterns can be built. New traits can be learned. Who you are is not fixed. It's shaped by what you do regularly. That means you can change your life by changing your actions and committing to them long enough to let them change you. Repeat what builds you. Repeat what strengthens you. Repeat what aligns with your value. Over time, those choices shape how you think, how you respond, how you lead yourself. That's what builds strong character. Not ideas, not wishes, repetition. And if you stay on that path, day after day, you will look back one day and realize you didn't just try to become better. You became it, not by chance, not by luck, but by choosing the right actions and repeating them until they became who you are. That's how real character is made. Quietly, consistently, authentically, through action.
Chapter 10. Commit to daily practice that compounds growth. Growth is not something that shows up all at once. It's not something you get after a single decision or a powerful moment of motivation. Growth comes from what you commit to doing every single day, especially when it's hard, especially when it feels slow, and especially when no one else sees it. The people who grow the most are not the ones chasing shortcuts. They're the ones who show up consistently, doing the work that compounds over time. Daily practice is what separates people who stay stuck from people who break through. The reason so many people feel like they're not moving forward is because they overvalue intensity and undervalue consistency. They try to do everything in one day, but they don't stick with anything long enough to see results. Real growth isn't about going all out once in a while. It's about doing small, focused actions again and again, until those actions start creating changes that can't be ignored. Every time you show up, you're adding something. Every time you stick with your practice, you're building. Maybe you can't see it right away, but it's there, accumulating. That's the power of compound growth. It doesn't ask you to do extraordinary things. It asks you to do meaningful things consistently. When you commit to showing up daily,
You stop relying on motivation. You stop chasing inspiration. You learn to move whether or not you feel like it. That's what makes your progress stable. You don't get knocked off track by every distraction or emotion. You stay the course. Daily practice gives your life structure. It helps you build rhythm. It becomes something you can depend on. When your mind feels cluttered, practice gives you clarity. When your day feels chaotic, practice gives you direction. When things feel uncertain, practice reminds you that you still have control. It anchors you. It keeps you grounded in something real, and it does this without needing to be perfect. You don't have to get it right every single time. You just have to keep coming back. One of the biggest mistakes people make is believing that if it doesn't feel big, it doesn't matter. But the small things repeated over time create more lasting change than anything else. If you want to learn something new, practice it daily. If you want to build better habits, repeat them daily. If you want to become more focused, more calm, more effective, commit to the practices that build those traits and show up every day without overthinking it. What you practice daily shapes how you think, how you respond, how you lead yourself, and the longer you stay committed, the more that practice becomes part of your identity. You're no longer someone who tries, you're someone who trains. You're not just dabbling, you're devoted. That kind of identity shift doesn't happen through words. It happens through repetition. Repetition with purpose. Repetition with intention. Repetition without needing results right away. You have to be patient with the process. You can't speed up growth by wishing for it. You speed it up by removing what slows you down, distractions, inconsistency, and excuses. You speed it up by showing up even when you're tired, even when you're bored, even when no one is watching. Every time you choose to practice instead of skip, you're giving yourself something valuable, the momentum to keep going. Commitment is what makes practice powerful. Without commitment, practice becomes optional, and when it's optional, it rarely gets done. But when it becomes non-negotiable, when it's just part of how you live, it starts working for you in ways you didn't expect. You start to notice you're more focused, more disciplined, more confident. You make better decisions. You feel more in control. All because you didn't stop when it was inconvenient. You kept practicing. And daily practice doesn't have to be intense to be meaningful. Even 10 minutes of effort matters. Even one simple action matters. What matters most is that you're consistent, that you don't keep stopping and starting, that you stay with it long enough to let it evolve. Because over time it always does. Practice compounds. Results begin to grow, and the growth becomes exponential. This is where most people fall off. They expect progress to look fast and dramatic, and when it doesn't, they think something's wrong. But nothing is wrong. It's just not finished yet. The changes are happening. They're just happening underneath the surface. Trusting that process is part of the discipline. You don't need to see results every day to know you're moving forward. You just need to know that what you're doing is valuable, and you need to keep doing it. Daily practice also teaches you humility. It shows you what still needs work. It reminds you that you're not done learning, that there's always a next level. But it also shows you your own potential, because the more you stick with it, the more you realize that growth is within your control. That improvement isn't reserved for other people. It's available to anyone who's willing to do the work. You don't need a perfect system to grow. You need a real one. One that you can live with. One that fits into your life without exhausting you. The best daily practices are simple. They're clear. They don't drain you. They strengthen you. And they leave you better than they found you, every single time. Think about the areas of your life that matter most to you. Your health, your mindset, your relationships, your work. Each one of these areas can grow if you're willing to show up for them daily. Not with intensity, with intention. Not with pressure, with consistency. That's how you make real lasting progress. The future you want is not built by one big effort. It's built by hundreds of small ones, efforts that compound, actions that repeat, choices that align with your values. That's how the gap between where you are and where you want to be begins to close, and the more you commit to the process, the faster that gap shrinks. If you're waiting to feel ready, don't. Start now. Choose one thing to practice daily. Keep it simple. Make it matter. Do it until it becomes part of how you live, and then build on it. Layer more discipline. Expand the effort. But only after the first step becomes natural. That's how strong habits are created, one at a time, through consistency, not chaos. You'll have days where you're tempted to skip, days where you question the point, days where results feel distant. On those days, remember this: every great result you've ever wanted is the result of someone who kept practicing when it would have been easier to stop. Let that be you. Let your life be a reflection of steady commitment, not short-lived effort. In the end, it's not about how fast you grow. It's about whether you're growing at all. Daily practice ensures that you are. It makes sure that even when life is unpredictable, you are still in motion, still learning, still improving, still becoming the kind of person who follows through. And that kind of person doesn't just achieve goals. They build a life that feels strong, clear, and purposeful, one day at a time, one practice at a time. That's the kind of growth that